I heard from a very reputable shop that the lowering springs can rapidly accelerate wear on your stock shocks. Better to just get coilovers and avoid shock failure. Any truth to it? Not really, no. I mean, that's just a. I'm not surprised the mechanic said this. It's someone with just a little bit of knowledge about something who makes kind of a really broad statement that doesn't apply to the nuances of reality. I would say if you wanted to take a factory car with factory dynamic plus shocks and struts, and you put our dynamic plus springs on it, I would put that up against any aftermarket coilover as far as longevity,
Yeah.
reliability, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Like it, coilovers and reliability are not two things that you usually use in the same sentence.
and we've talked about this before. When you hear sweeping, I don't know the specifics of this comment, obviously, but when you hear sweeping statements and generalizations like that,
Yeah,
um, you know, there are thousands or hundreds of different lowering springs out there. Some might be too low and crashy and terrible, and accelerate wear. There's also the hundreds and of coilover kits, and I guarantee you, there's more coilover kits that are going to fail
yeah.
more quickly
If you're looking for
than some lowering
reliability,
springs.
you're not going to beat our springs with the factory dampers.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've sold many thousands, tens of thousands of springs uh, for 5, 6 years now, and there are no widespread, failures of
Yeah.
factory shocks. This is kind of like saying, my mechanic told me that if you run with running shoes, you can hurt your back, so you should ride a skateboard everywhere, because you don't get hurt on skateboards. If you are a runner and you have really shitty shoes, yes, you could experience pain or discomfort from the lack of support or whatever. But if done well, a good running shoe is going to support you. So there are bad springs out there. There are companies that offer lowering springs that lower the car too much. There are springs that are so low that it causes the valving in the factory shock to constantly bottom out, and that over time can damage the seals and cause the shock to blow out. But a properly designed lowering spring with a factory shock is very reliable. So your mechanic's wrong about that. And then again, the coilovers in general are not uh, very reliable, and they tend to have a lot
Yeah,
of issues.
if you want to generalize the markets, I would say
Yeah.
it's the exact opposite of what your comment led to. Is coilovers are typically a much more small volume, higher fail rate,
Yeah.
more homebrew kind of situation versus a mass
No.
produced
With
quality
with that said,
stock.
there are.
Oh, there's some really good
We don't
coilovers.
want to make the same type of sweeping. There are good quality coilovers that last a long time.
Mhm.
But again, the truth is always much more nuanced than these kind of salacious statements that get made. So, if you'd like, have your mechanic shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to talk to him more about. But I doubt your mechanic has ever designed a suspension component in his life, much less knows what he's really talking about. There are some also there's some knowledgeable mechanics out there too, and there's plenty that are.
And we're not trying to generalize. We're working with what we've got here for information, but
But more often than not, we hear these like mechanics. Every time someone says my mechanic said,
yeah.
I kind of cringe and wait for some kind of ridiculous statement.
I've heard less of that. What was it? SAE, ASC
The
certified.
ASC
My ASC certified
mechanics
system.
C certified. That's
Doesn't,
great.
I'm not sure what we're discussing.
That doesn't mean he's an engineering expert.